Okay, well, maybe we'll get started. Maybe just as an introduction to Varun, because you're from, your family's from Hyderabad, so you're not so familiar with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right?
No, I didn't really know much about, Chaitanya. Of course, Krishna and with Gita and the Mahabharata, I'm very familiar from childhood, but
Right.
I
Right.
didn't know about, the more recent.
It's outside of Bengal, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Devi, he's not so well known. So I think you already know we worship Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Lord, as a non-different manifestation of Lord Krishna. There's a gradation within divinity, we can say. So there's Krishna, there's Vishnu, there's Ramachandra, there's Nrsingadev. There's so many different forms of Bhagavan, but we recognize Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan, as the most original of all forms of Bhagavan. We were discussing this actually a few weeks ago, weren't we? So he's in a different category than other forms of Bhagavan. However, Lord Chaitanya Dev, he is understood to be of the same, how can we say, the same potency, the same quality as Krishna. However, the difference is that his mood is in his mood and expression. So Krishna is characterized by the mood of Madhurya, sweetness, whereas Lord Chaitanya's Leela is characterized by what we call Audarya, which means a mood of magnanimity, of distribution, generosity. So while Krishna's, so in terms of, we can use the word rasa, in terms of rasa, because this is how our gurus, this is how our teachers, they look at and they assess the gradation within divinity on the criteria of rasa. And rasa, I think everybody knows the word rasa. It's a difficult word to explain in English, but we can say the degree of taste, of depth of feeling, of ecstatic feeling. So they assess gradation within our gurus, they assess the gradation within divinity on the basis of rasa, the depth and variety of divine ecstatic feeling that is there. And forgive me if we've discussed this all already a few weeks ago. I can't, I think we did. I don't remember exactly what I said and what I didn't say. But anyway, for the purposes of this discussion, I'll touch on it again. So just as a quick comparison, Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, he doesn't have any parents, right? So from one angle of vision, that fits in more with our kind of model of what we expect God to be like. So many people, they'll think of Vishnu as being the supreme entity. He fits in more with this idea, of a mystical, omnipresent, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful, eternally existent, almighty being, right? It parallels the Christian conception of God. So from that angle of vision, it makes more sense that someone like Vishnu is supreme. However, according to the criteria rasa, then Vishnu's not having parents, that means there's a lack, there's a deficiency in rasa, because that mood, that feeling, that type of relationship is not available. Whereas with Krishna, he has parents, so that there's a more developed degree and variety of rasa that is available. So on the basis of rasa, this scientific analysis is made, and according to that, Krishna is understood to be the supreme Godhead, the supreme divinity. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is of the same quality of rasa. So he is on the same platform as Krishna in terms of rasa, but the expression is different. And so as I mentioned, the Krishna's mood is that of intense sweetness, madhurya, and the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is of audarya, of extreme magnanimity. He is distributing that sweetness of Krishna. That Krishna's sweetness, Krishna is tasting this sweetness within a very particular, exclusive, closed circle, right? His most intimate associates, they're tasting the sweetness with him in a very, it's a members only club. Then Lord Chaitanya, he's taking that sweetness and he's very generously sharing it, distributing it, canvassing the lost souls of this world, trying to have them taste this wonderful sweetness. There's a very beautiful verse by one of our gurus, which was very beloved to my guru Srila Govinda Maharaj, which is making this comparison between the nature of Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila, Chaitanya Lila. Krishna Lila Mrita Sar Tar Shata Shata Dar Dash Dike Bahe Jaha Hoite Se Chaitanya Lila Hoy Sarvar Akoy Manohamsa Chadahata Hate. And so here the poet Kaviraj Goswami, he's describing the nature of Krishna Lila, of Krishna's divine play, his pastimes, as Krishna Lila Amrita Sar. Amrita Sar means the condensed essence of all nectar, of all sweetness. This is the nature of Krishna Lila, his divine play, his so it is the most intense sweetness. And then what is the nature of Chaitanya Lila? That he is like his Lila, his divine play, activities, pastimes, they are compared to a reservoir, a lake, from which hundreds and hundreds of streams of that wonderful sweetness of Krishna are being distributed in all directions. And then Manohamsa Chadahatahat is a very beautiful verse. And then Kaviraj Goswami is addressing his audience and saying, may your swan-like minds come and swim in this wonderful lake of Chaitanya Lila. So for us, Lord Chaitanya is of primary importance because Krishna is busy. He's not so concerned with that duty of canvassing the lost souls of this world. But when he's and this is the most esoteric element of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, that he is actually his intrinsic nature is Krishna under the influence of his divine potency, his feminine counterpart, Radharani. So Krishna sees, and we were discussing this yesterday, this is the ultimate victory of devotion and the devotee. Because Krishna constitutionally is the supreme enjoyer. He's the only one. and it's a bitter pill to swallow. But it's also the answer to all of our problems. Why do we suffer in this world? Why are we frustrated in this world? Because we've confused ourselves we're putting ourselves in the role of enjoyers and exploiters and consumers, but constitutionally, it is very unnatural to us. Constitutionally, our very nature is to supply enjoyment, to give enjoyment, to sacrifice, to dedicate. This is our true nature. Not to consume, but to supply that for the satisfaction of Krishna. So Krishna constitutionally, he is the enjoyer. He has infinite, and this is the other thing that we, as much as we want to, there's only so much we can consume, anyway. So we're constantly frustrated with our inability, with the limitations that we face in our attempts to enjoy. But Krishna, he has infinite capacity to consume, to enjoy. But Krishna, this is the thing, right? Krishna is in this position of to our eyes, very enviable position, where he has infinite ability to enjoy. However, he's in that most enviable position, but he's observing this very curious fact that his devotees are actually getting a deeper kind of enjoyment, a deeper kind of pleasure in their service to him. And furthermore, he's seeing that there's some intense sweetness within himself that he's not able to taste. We cannot experience, just if we think in our own lives, in our ordinary way, we have friends who appreciate us, but we're not able to experience what they experience, in the happiness they may have in our company. We're not able to experience that. So, of course, that's on a very low, limited level. But Krishna, he is the embodiment of sweetness, but he can't taste that himself. He's the most charming, the most beautiful, the most loving, the most attractive. He has all of these wonderful qualities, but he can't taste them. He sees him, there's descriptions of him seeing himself in the mirror sometimes and wishing that he was one of his girlfriends, so he could experience his beauty, he could enjoy his beauty. No. He's that beautiful, he's that attractive. So he's seeing that his beloved devotees, his friends, they're supplying, they're dedicating themselves to him, they're serving him in various ways. And he's getting some pleasure from that, no doubt. But they're actually getting more than him. They're getting more happiness than he is. So therefore, Krishna comes to this decision. I have to put myself in the position of my devotee. If I'm going to be able to experience, my sweetness and the kind of happiness that they experience as a result, I have to take that role. I have to take that position. And so he actually steals the heart. He takes the mood, the devotional mood, the mood of devotion of his topmost devotee, his beloved consort, the divine feminine principle, Srimati Radharani. He takes her divine mood, her divine heart, and furthermore, she gives him her divine effulgence. And so he appears in this beautiful golden form, enriched by the loving heart, ecstatic mood of Srimati Radharani. Now, what is that line? Suvalitam Shiradhaya Pranaya Mahima Kijisho Vanayaiva Swadyo Yana Bhutamadim Kijisho Vamadiya Sokyam Chashra Madinam. So Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. But there's this beautiful verse which is describing the ontological nature of Lord Chaitanya. How, what we basically saying, what we were just saying, that he's observing, what Radharani has, the sweetness that she's tasting in him, the happiness that she's experiencing, and feeling, oh, I want to take that for myself. And then the verse concludes that, and Suvalita means like enhanced, and so he takes her heart, her divine mood, and then Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya in this, enriched, enhanced. So Lord Chaitanya, he's also, our gurus also see him as the most, from one perspective, as I said at the beginning, Krishna and Chaitanya Dev, they're on the same level. But from another angle, we could say, and our gurus have looked at it this way, that Lord Chaitanya, he is the most complete expression of divinity, the most complete rasa, because it is the combined form, the combination of Krishna and the heart, the divine loving heart of Radharani. So under the influence of his divine potency, Radharani, then Krishna as Lord Chaitanya, he has this, he is enhanced by this mood of distribution and wanting to give Krishna to others. And so in the form of Lord Chaitanya Dev, he's hunting after the lost souls of this world, and trying to give them the wealth of their own lives. He is known as the most magnanimous form of the Lord, the most magnanimous, most generous. So Lord Chaitanya, he is of very principal importance to us, because without Chaitanya Dev, without Mahaprabhu, there is no Krishna. And this is the line, the path, the line of approach which has been chalked out for us by our gurus. The mercy of Nityananda, then the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Dev, and then with the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Dev, we can have some hope of approaching Shri Radha Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya and his companions, associates, they are very central importance to us. And for that reason, Bengal, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, is very important for us. And our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he first established this mission in Navadvip Dham, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. He was considering, he was considering, where to establish his mission. And he did consider one part of Vrindavan. He considered one area in Puri, Jagannath Puri and Orissa. And then finally he decided that Navadvip was the best place, because Navadvip, the mood of Navadvip, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, is very generous. Because normally, if we go to a very sacred place, then we'll be a little on edge, because like a bull in a tea shop. We're very rough persons. We're not acquainted with so many fine points of divine sentiments, divine feeling. So when we enter a higher place, like if a child tries to join in a parent's adult's conversation, there's so much nuance, so many fine points which they're not going to understand. So they'll just cause disturbance. So So, if we're entering a higher place, then normally we may be, a little fearful. We will cause some disturbance there. But the nature of Navadvip, the nature of Lord Chaitanya, is that of compassion and tolerance to the infinite degree. And so our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he there in his humility, he considered, then Navadvip, it is the best place for me to stay. And so he established our mission there. And he also selected a very special place, Aparad Banjam Pat, which means the place where all offenses are forgiven. So within the land of mercy, he chose the place of most extreme mercy. And that is where he established his mission. And Lord Chaitanya Dev, he demonstrated, what it means to be a devotee. This is another point. We can understand that Lord Chaitanya, he came with a dual purpose, twofold purpose. One, out of his own private curiosity and desire to experience the position and the heart of a devotee. And then on the other hand, he came to help on a more public level. He came to help the souls of this world, primarily by distributing the holy name. This is the Harinam Sankirtan, congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names. This is the what is called the Yuga Dharma, the religion of the age. And so he came to distribute that. And this is the function of what's called the Yuga Avatar, the form of the Lord that comes in a particular age to spread the religion of the age. So there was that aspect also, that he came to spread this Yuga Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan, and to reveal the glories of Krishna and Krishna Prema as the highest goal of life. The Pancham Purushartha. The Vedic scriptures, they're generally giving Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right? As the four ends of human existence. Sense pleasure, wealth, piety, and finally moksha. The Vedas are generally advocating these four things as the goal, the ultimate goal of life. But Lord Chaitanya, he came with the fifth ends, the fifth goal of life, Krishna Prema, divine love for Krishna. This is the true wealth of the soul. And so he came and he personally demonstrated, how, what is the glory of that, and how that can be, what is the desirability of that, and how it can be. He didn't just tell that, like in Bhagavad Gita. By comparison, Krishna is giving many instructions. But as Lord Chaitanya Dev, Krishna is actually living that out, demonstrating to us what it means to be a soul surrendered to the Lord and to live a life of devotion. So that is his supreme mercy. And, so he gave that goal of life, Krishna Prema. He gave the process, Harinam Sankirtan. And he also demonstrated the mood. And this is why Lord Chaitanya, this is one reason why Lord Chaitanya is not so well known. He's known as the hidden avatar. He's referred to as the Chana avatar in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's hidden because he's not overtly appearing as the Supreme Lord, and he's not declaring himself to be the Supreme Lord. Like in Bhagavad Gita, sometimes Krishna is shamelessly, referring to himself as the supreme entity, manmanabha, begging, begging the hearers of Bhagavad Gita, worship me, manmanabha madbhakto, madbhakti, manmanabha madbhakto, madhyaji, mam namaskuru, mame vaishashi satyanje, pratijani priyosi me, worship me, love me, give your everything to me, be my devotee, give me your heart, And so shamelessly, one way our Guru Srila Sridhar said, shamelessly he's canvassing for himself and he's announcing his divinity. So you can understand Krishna's God, But Lord Chaitanya, his mood is just the opposite. He's, actually there are some very charming and humorous descriptions where some of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, they're trying to pin him down. Like, we know that you're actually, God, and he's always like shying away from that. He'll change the subject, There's like a few, like 2 or 3 very rare instances in his whole life here where he's admitting to that. But otherwise, he's always denying that, evading that, shying away from that. So therefore, he's a very hidden expression of divinity. And he's always showing like what is the example for us. He is always presenting what he has to give in the most humble way. Krishna, he's sometimes using Sudarshan chakra, and Ramachandra's using his bow and arrow, and Nrsimhadev has his claws. But Lord Chaitanya, his weapons are different. His weapons are, it is mentioned in one place, his weapons are the holy name and his beauty. This is how he is capturing people. Krishna Varnam Vishakha Krishnam Sangha Pangashta Parshanam Yagnai Sankirtana Priya Jantahi Sumedasa. So our Gurudev, he mentioned once how Lord Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was all he handled things in a different, we can say he defeated people in a different way. And then there are some very nice examples of this. Yeah, in particular, there's one example of one Prakashananda Saraswati, one very proud sannyasi, very proud renunciant, who was of an impersonalist conception, and this is in Varanasi, Benares, and so there was one meeting that Lord Chaitanya was invited to. And Lord Chaitanya Dev, he accepted the sannyas cloth, he accepted the renounced order, which at that time was mostly it was persons of the Mayavad conception, impersonalist conception, who accepted that order. But Lord Chaitanya, for the purposes of preaching, he also decided to accept that. But it was not so common for someone of the Bhakti school to accept that. It was very, very uncommon. So anyhow, one time Lord Chaitanya, he was in Varanasi, which is like the Mayavad capital of India, and there was one very very grand assembly of sannyasis that was organized by one devotee of Lord Chaitanya Dev. And so he invited all of these sannyasis, including Lord Chaitanya Dev. And these sannyasis, they were very very critical and very dismissive of Lord Chaitanya Dev, because they felt like Lord Chaitanya, he was giving a bad name to giving a bad name to the order of sannyas, we could say, because they're in the nature, the style of Mayavad practitioners, they're very much inclined to the mood of renunciation. Very, withdrawn from worldly affairs, extremely conservative, studious, etc., etc. Whereas Lord Chaitanya, he came with this movement of kirtan, and which was all inclusive. It wasn't like an exclusive group of scholars in the upper echelon of society, but everybody was invited to this party, and then the party was very public. The party was happening in the street, so he'd have like these like large groups, in the middle of the street, holding these ecstatic kirtans. And naturally, because Lord Chaitanya and his followers, they're experiencing such an intense degree of divine emotion, then they're often showing, they're showing different, their feelings are being shown in different ways. They're sometimes expressing their emotion through tears, through trembling, their hair is standing on end, sometimes rolling on the ground. So, Mahaprabhu was coming with what some would see in a critical way as like this emotional, sentimental display, public display, without understanding the intensity of love that was behind that. And so these sannyasis in Varanasi, they really weren't happy with Lord Chaitanya. No, he's an imposter. He's an upstart, And Lord Chaitanya Dev, he came. What's even? It's all just the way that Lord Chaitanya Dev shows his leela. The development, the order, the sequence of everything is all very significant. The background, because Lord Chaitanya in the beginning, he showed himself as a scholar in his early years. He was born they were not so wealthy. They were Brahmins, right? So Brahmins weren't generally wealthy, right? They're focused on scripture and study, etc. So his family, they weren't, wealthy, but they were very, very highly respected, persons within society. They were very, very noble, very dignified persons, highly respected persons in society. Lord Chaitanya Dev's family, and he himself, he became a very great Sanskrit scholar from a young age. Even in his teenage years, he defeated a very great scholar who was famous throughout India, Keshava Kashmiri. This is all about 500 years ago, just for time frame reference. And there are eyewitnesses. We have eyewitness accounts, multiple eyewitness accounts. But anyhow, so Lord Chaitanya, from his teenage years, he became known as this great Sanskrit scholar, and he became a teacher as well in his own right. So he came from this kind of background. He had this kind of reputation. So for someone like that to become this like emotional, this emotional, Bhakti follower this was a pretty extraordinary thing, you know. It was very striking. So this was one angle of these sannyasis, you know, like, you know, we don't understand. You know, like, we know about your family background. We know you were the great scholar Nimai Pandit. How did you? What happened? Like, how did you turn into this? This crying, sentimental, crazy man dancing and chanting in the middle of the streets with all these crowds of, like, you know, of like beggars around, dancing around you. Like, what happened? so this meeting, so they were not happy with Lord Chaitanya. You know, they were not happy at all. And so Lord Chaitanya Dev Mahaprabhu, he dealt with this in a very clever way, you know. So there's this grand meeting, and there's this big assembly, these very, like, proud, you know, highly intellectual, you know, great scholars, and there's this big group of them, and then on his own, there's Lord Chaitanya Dev, Sriman Mahaprabhu. So how do you deal with this situation? And they're coming in with their prejudice already. You know, they've got their own preconceived notions about who he is and what he's doing. So how do you deal with this? So Mahaprabhu, he was very clever in this. He, first of all, they were all sitting on this elevated platform. And then Mahaprabhu, he went and sat in this very dirty, in the place where you wash your feet. You know? And you know, in the Indian culture, the feet are considered to be impure, you know, inauspicious. So the place where you wash your feet, Mahaprabhu went and sat there. You know? And then, and then simultaneously, because he is the Supreme Lord, then he began to display this dazzling effulgence. So he was sitting very humbly in the lowest, dirtiest place in the room, and also showing this brilliant effulgence, you know, showing his glory. So naturally, how did all of these sannyasis respond to that? Naturally, you know, their hearts were melted by that. You know, naturally, you know, they were disarmed, we can say, by his humility, by his charm. And so naturally, and also he's appearing as a sannyasi, as a monk, a renunciate, who you know, is deserving of the highest respect. So he should be sitting in an elevated place. So all these, you know, different emotions are playing within them. Their hearts are melting to see this. So they naturally went to him. Oh, please come here and sit with us. You're also a sannyasi, you know. And then they began, you know, and now they're like, you know, that hard resistance that's been broken. You know, their hearts are a little open. They're actually like a little curious now, and so then they began to inquire, you know, to express their, you know, how puzzled they were. And there's a very wonderful talk by our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, where he's describing this meeting, and it's so wonderful the way he describes it, how he conveys the bewilderment of these sannyasis, and they're saying to him, oh, you know, Chaitanya Dev, you know, we fail to understand. You know, we why are you behaving like this? You know, sincerely, we cannot understand. You know, we know who your father is, we know who your mother is, we know you were the great scholar Nimai Pandit. We fail to understand. You know, please explain to us. You know, why are you behaving like this? You know? the display, this great scholar, Nimai Pandit, he became, overwhelmed by the madness of divine love. There's this, and he also, and this is another point, that Navadvip, the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, of Chaitanya Dev, it was like a center of learning at that time within India. Nowadays it's different, but at that time, it was actually, at one point, it was one of the capitals of the Muslim government in India. So it was like a very wealthy, influential place, and particularly it was known for the quality of scholarship. So there were many, great scholars there. So it was like a place of learning in India. So that made this even more striking, that Lord Chaitanya came from that kind of place, and then he's just showing this extreme emotion and the madness of love. There's one very charming Bengali poem which is describing how we can conceive in one way of Vishnu as being Lord Chaitanya as being Vishnu. Haridas Thakur, one of the principal associates, companions, helpers, assistants in the mission of Lord Chaitanya, he is known as an avatar of Lord Brahma. And then Advaita Acharya, another one of the principal assistants of Lord Chaitanya, he is known as an avatar of Lord Shiva from one perspective. So these are like three of the great deities, right, within the Vedic world. Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, right, and they're all appearing in the pastimes in the Leela of Lord Chaitanya as these ecstatic devotees overcome by divine love. So there's this one very charming Bengali poem saying Vishnu Pagal means like mad, crazy. So Vishnu's become Pagal, Brahma, Vishnu Pagal, Brahma Pagal Bola Shiv. But now, these three great deities, these three, principal gods, they've all become Pagal, they've all become mad. And then it continues saying, and they're entering this place of logic, Navadvip, and they're breaking this place of Navadvip, this center of learning and logic. They're breaking it all to pieces. So what an extraordinary thing this is. So these sannyasis, they sincerely presented this their bewilderment. Please explain to us. We don't understand. Why are you carrying on like this and showing yourself in this very emotional way in the streets, chanting and dancing and crying? What is this? What kind of a sannyasi is this? What kind of a scholar is this? And then Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya Dev, he responds in a very charming way, and he tells them, actually, it is not my intention to do this. And he says, my Guru Dev, he told me, you are not so intelligent. You are Tumi Morka. You're a fool. You're not qualified to study Vedanta. You're not qualified to study the scriptures like other sannyasis. So you just chant this holy name. You follow this practice of kirtan. You can get everything just through that. So Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he's telling this. So my guru, he told me, just chant this. Chant the name of Krishna. You cannot study. So I began to chant it. And then what happened? Then all of a sudden, all of these emotions started coming up inside of me. And all of these symptoms started appearing, tears and trembling, hair standing on end. And I was very surprised. I was not expecting this. I was not planning this. So then I was a little worried. I went back to my group. And I said, "Oh, my Gurudev, what kind of a mantra did you give me?" Kiba mancha dila gosai, kiba tarbo, what kind of mantra is this? What kind of power does it have? I started to chant it, then all this stuff started happening to me. Like, am I doing something wrong? And my Gurudev reassured me. He said, no, don't worry. Actually, you're very fortunate. You're very blessed. And this disease that you're experiencing, I wish that I had that. You're very blessed. You're very fortunate. There's one beautiful verse by Kaviraj Goswami, Yogyanamattam Bhuvanam Doyalor, saying how it is a prayer to Lord Chaitanya Dev, saying how he delivered the whole world from the disease, from the madness of ignorance, and he gave them all the madness of divine love. We have to be mad one way or another. So my Gurudev, he told me, you were very fortunate, you were very blessed. The scriptures, they have described that when one will sincerely chant the holy names of the Lord, then their hearts will become, their hearts will naturally arise with divine love, divine feeling for the Lord. And you were very blessed. This is the goal of life. So, Lord Chaitanya Dev, he presented himself in this very humble, very, very charming way to these sannyasis, and naturally their hearts were melted by that. And then they continued to have some more in-depth theological discussion, and finally they came to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Dev. Lord, one of the gifts of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is his Shikshashtakam. Very, very valuable for us. The Shikshashtaka, literally it means 8 instructions, and it is 8. So there's 8 verses of instruction, and they are all centered around the holy name, the glory of the holy name, of kirtan, the process, the development in one who is sincerely chanting that holy name, and the result, the attainment of one who can chant properly. And the verses, they're describing this the different stages in which the sincere chanter will go through. And the third verse is was especially emphasized by our Gurudev, and is especially relevant for us. And it describes the mood with which one must chant these holy names in order to truly touch upon the spiritual nature of the holy name. Because the holy name, it is just that, it is the holy name. It is not just an ordinary sound vibration. With our material tongues, with our material tongues, we can only produce material sounds. We don't have the instruments to all of our faculties put together They cannot approach, they're ineligible. They are outside of the jurisdiction of spiritual matter. Just like, we are limited in what range of light waves we can see, what range of sound waves we can hear, etc., etc. So, we cannot touch upon that higher spiritual substance with our present faculties. So therefore, it's necessary, we can only touch that divine substance if it chooses to touch us, if it chooses to come down to reveal itself. We cannot approach that on our own. We can only touch upon and experience it if it chooses to come down to us. So therefore, of primary importance for true practitioners of devotion is to cultivate the proper mood of heart, so as to make ourselves proper receivers of that divine substance. And so in this third verse of these 8 verses of instruction, then the proper mood which must be cultivated in order to receive that holy name, they're described in Trinada Pisanichena, Churiva Sahishna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahadi. That one must be humbler than a blade of grass, tolerant as a tree, and give all respect, all honor to others without expecting any for ourselves. Kirtaniya Sadahadi, such a person, they can always chant. Or the name, another way, the name must always be chanted with such a mood. The name can only be chanted with such a mood. So, this mood of heart will enable us to be better situated to receive, to catch the holy name in its true spiritual expression. So Lord Chaitanya Dev, he gave, these teachings, and he also lived by that and demonstrated that in his divine Leela and his life and activities. I think we're about the right time. Well, it's very nice to be here with all of you. Let's see who else is here today. Also, Rukmini has joined us. Dandavat. Chintamani has also joined us. Dandavat. And Narayani is here also. Dandavat. And Jayadev is also there. Dandavat. Narayani. Hello, Narayani. Dandavat.
Dandavat, how are you doing?
We're good. We had a very nice festival yesterday here.
Nice.
Whereabouts are you?
Oh, in California, not probably 15 miles from SoCal.
Okay, nice.
Living in the redwoods, very peaceful.
Oh, cool.
As David Priya says, it's my little fairy circle. On the top of a mountain, got some ocean breezes.
Wonderful.
I was able to take pictures of the moon last night through the trees. It was so golden coming up.
Right.
Right around 7:15, as Janardhan Maharaj says, when the moon rose.
What did you say?
I said right around 7:15, as Janardhan Maharaj said, when the moon rose, sunrise.
Oh, you took the photos then. Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Nice. And Nanga Krishna Prabhu is also here. Dandavat Prabhu. Hope you're well in Tijuana. And we just had a message here that is Jayadev's 46th birthday today. Happy birthday, Jayadev. Very, very auspicious day. Today is also a festival day. Today is the festival day, actually, Jagannath Mishra's Anandotsav festival. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared in the evening, the time of the moonrise, on the full moon day. And then the following day was the day when Mahaprabhu's father held this, grand festival. So today is really the big festival day. So very, very auspicious day. Jayadev, do you want to say anything? Or please share something. What are your thoughts on this day?
Oh, just the greatest gift is the association of the Vaishnavas, and I'm grateful that I have that to some extent.
Well, we're grateful to have your good company, and we all wish you the best for the year ahead. Actually, Gaur Purnima is our new year. In our calendar, our Gaudiya Vaishnava calendar, then the birthday of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's the beginning of our year. So it is also a new year start for us. Gaurabda. Does anyone else want to share anything or ask anything? Chinmoy Prabhu, you want to say anything?
Well, Didi, I mean, I don't want to press you for time, but I always, Rukmini, there we go. Rukmini would like to say something.
Okay.
I wasn't raising my hand. I'm sorry.
No, I heard that like even the communists like Mahaprabhu. Like in Bengal, they're very communist, or they were anyways. Curious why the communists, what attraction they have.
Because they think of him in some way as promoting the ideals of communism, socialism, because he was he broke down the barriers of society, and he disregarded the castes. He not only disregarded, he rejected the caste system. So he, in some ways, because the thing is, Mahaprabhu, he was promoting a spiritual movement. He wasn't promoting a social movement in any way. So sometimes, and really for the most part, he was quite conservative, and he didn't disturb the existing structure of society. But on the other hand, in other ways, he was revolutionary, not with the intention of being revolutionary in the world, but with the intention of revealing pure spiritual ideals. So I mean, really, they're seeing through the lens of communism and recognizing some parallels, and so they see him in that way. But what he's giving is actually far beyond any ideology of this world. But there's one verse in particular, which could be interpreted in that, well, it's kind of like they're drawing out their own interpretation. Naham vipro nachanarpatir napi vaisho na shudro naham varni nacha vihapatir no vanastogatir va kintu prodyan nikila parmananda purnamitabder gopi bartu padakamalayur dasa dasa dasa. This is one of like 2 or 3 verses, or apart from the Shikshashtakam, which are directly attributed to Mahaprabhu himself. And famous verse, you know it, of course, but Mahaprabhu, he's saying, he's going through every designation of the Varnashram system of India, the social religious system of India, and rejecting one by one. Naham vipro, I'm not a Brahmin. Naham vipro nachanarpatir, I'm not a kshatriya. I'm not a napi vaishyo, I'm not a vaishya, merchant. I'm not a shudra, laborer. Naham Varni, I'm not a Vanaprashta, retired householder, not a Grihasta householder. I'm not a Brahmachari, a monk. Naham Varni, Nachavihabatir, no Vanastogatir. I'm missing one, aren't I? I'm missing one, right? What did I miss? Grihasta, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, Brahmachari, those four. So he's rejecting all of these different designations. I'm not that, I'm not that. So this is a parallel with socialist, communist ideology, right? But then he continues, Kintu Prodya Nikila Parmananda Purnamrita there Gopi Bartu Parakamalya Das. I only identify myself as being the servant of that beautiful Lord of the Gopis, Sri Krishna, who is compared to this ever-expanding ocean of nectar. So, I mean, another way we could say it is that every conception of this world has its origin, right? And there's truth to be found everywhere. So that communist ideology, it has some spiritual origin, and it is like that. We are all spirit souls, and we should not be judged according to our material position, rank, etc., etc. But yes, sometimes they'll talk like that. Yeah. Yeah, Lord Chaitanya, he's really a very mysterious person, because I mean, like, in the general understanding, because as we mentioned in the beginning, within India he's not so well known. Generally outside of Bengal, he's not really known. But then even within Bengal, amongst those who know of him, they don't know of him as being the Supreme Lord. They know him as a social revolutionary, or they know him as a great saint. In Puri, he's celebrated as a great devotee of Jagannath. That's one way in which one lens through which he's seen. So he's really, very hidden, a hidden form of the Lord. That before we started, I was looking at this one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, where he's saying, it is difficult actually to have faith in Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, because, even in the scriptures, he's mentioned in many places in the scriptures, but in a hidden way, in a concealed way. There's once you understand, what's going on, then everything becomes crystal clear, right? Once you have the code, then everything makes sense, So, but if you don't have that code, if you don't have that background, the understanding given by our gurus, then it's not so easy to recognize. Some place there, there's one verse in the Vishnu Sahasranam in the Mahabharata which describes an avatar of the Lord where he appears as a sannyasi. That's probably as explicit as it gets. But otherwise, it's hidden. He's hidden. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, she was saying in this, Varun has just, I think I missed him. He just said goodbye message. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj was saying, it's difficult for someone to have faith in Gauranga. It is much more difficult than to have faith in Krishna. Everywhere, as we said in the beginning, Krishna is announcing all over the place, hello, I'm God. and many places that's described. Even if someone doesn't accept Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan, as the original Godhead, they can see him as an avatar, right? You know, he is, they can recognize, appreciate him as Bhagavan at least, you know. But that's not the case for Mahaprabhu. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying it is more difficult to have faith in Mahaprabhu, but if you can, you know, then you'll get everything through that. You know? Yata yata gor pradar vinde vindeta bhaktim grita punya rasi tatata tot sarpita vidya kasmat radha padambuja sudamburasi. This is beautiful, beautiful prayer of Prabodhananda Saraswati. You know, as much as one can give themselves to the, and we can also mention today Prabodhananda Saraswati. He's like a, you know, like a, if there's a fan club of you know, Gora Bhaktas, Prabodhananda Saraswati, he's in the top 5 there. You know, he's like very, you know, fanatic about Mahaprabhu. There's this one prayer of his which is so bold, where, where he's referring to different avatars, and kind of like, and only he can do, someone of that level of devotion can do that, you know. He's like dismissing other avatars, like referring to them, like, you know, oh, what's so great about killing the demons? What's so special about that, you know? Well, what's so great about saving the earth? What's so great about this? He's like mentioning different like famous deeds of different avatars and dismissing them one by one. What's so great about this? What's so great about that? You know, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come with the greatest gift ever known to humankind, you know. He's given prema bhakti so freely. You know, what is better than this? Nobody's come with what he's given, you know. and really, it's an interesting point, because really, you know, what Mahaprabhu is giving is pertaining to the most intrinsic nature of the soul on the positive side. He's not coming in connection with any ideal of this worldly plane. And that's one reason why these things are more difficult for the mass to appreciate, because there's no reference point to this world, you know. I mean, like, for example, by comparison, Ramachandra, it's much easier to appreciate Ramachandra because he's upholding ideals which are relevant in this world. You know, he's the what's that word? The paragon of morality, you know, and dharma. You know, morality means something in this world, which is a world of corruption and degradation and cheating. Morality means something here. But in a world where you know, cheating doesn't exist, in a world where nothing bad can exist, in a world which, you know, is of its very fabric just made of pure goodness, then morality doesn't have any meaning, you know. So you know, Ramachandra, he's much more popular and easy to appreciate because, you know, we can, like, he means something relative to the values of this conditioned world, this lower material degraded world. But what Mahaprabhu is giving has no reference point to our existence as conditioned souls. And what he's giving is the wealth of the pure liberated soul. You know, and this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. This is the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the food for the healthy souls, is one way Gurudev has put it. Not medicine for sick souls, for conditioned souls, but nourishment for healthy souls, for liberated souls. You know, what will be the nature, what will be the existence, the life of a liberated soul, a healthy soul? No, that's what's being given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is really something so great, and, you know, which is not comparable to what any other avatar has given. Oh yeah, so Prabodhananda Saraswati, very a strident follower of Mahaprabhu, he wrote this one prayer, as much as one will give themselves to the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, so much they will come to taste the ecstasy of divine service to Srimati Radharani. And this is the most esoteric truth about the descent of Mahaprabhu, that he came to tell the glory of Srimati Radharani and to give her divine service. Jadi gorna hoite tabeke hoite kemana doritante Radhar Mahima Prema Rasasima Jagata Janatake. This is Vasudev Ghosh's beautiful prayer. If Gauranga Mahaprabhu had not come, how would we know about the glories of Srimati Radharani? So he's coming and celebrating the love of the position, the love of Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis. Well, should we stop there? And anything else?
We also have Banavi Didi from Italy. She's on Facebook, and one devotee, Ale Hedo. They are giving their dandavats to you.
Okay. Dandavats. Very, very nice to have them with us. I know Banavi very well. Very, very dedicated member of the Italian mission. And Alejandro.
Ale Hedo. I'm not
Hedo.
saying it right, but I don't know his devotional name.
Okay.
I'm sure it's Alessandro. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I probably know him by another name, but my
Yeah.
dandavats. Okay. Well, I'm so happy to be here with all of you to remember these wonderful things that we've heard from our gurus. This is all the wealth of our gurus, and we have the opportunity sometimes to touch upon them in some small way, by the grace of you all as well. So I'm very, 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 very happy to have this opportunity every week.
Thank you so much, Vishakha, for joining with us. Really. Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki.
Jai Vishakha Devi,
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Avirbhav Mahamahotsav Titi ki Jai. Jai Shri Anandotsav ki Jai. Jai Shri Shachi Mata ki Jai. Jagannath Mishra ki Jai. All the assembled devotees ki Jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol.